It is 11 o'clock, hour number 2 of Three Man Front. Welcome back into the program. Pat Landrum, Molly Conrad with you until 2 o'clock. If you missed our interview with Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider, giving us some thoughts on tonight's SEC basketball action and also the NFL. Playing us now on the Higginbotham Hotline, brought to you by Craneworks, is the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, rental works, got it.
Crimson Tide Network's Chris Stewart on Three Man Front is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it. The big dogs got it. And now, Chris Stewart.
Chris Stewart joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline. And Landrum, I am happy correctly. My sources in Tuscaloosa tell me that Chris Stewart did not enter the transfer portal.
Oh, thank goodness.
So we will for another year. Stewart did not enter the transfer portal.
Oh, thank goodness.
So we will for another year of Alabama basketball, football, and baseball.
Well, we knew there were all the reports of the tampering that was
Alabama basketball, football, and baseball.
Well, we knew there were all the reports of the tampering that was going on.
Yes.
And he's in high demand, but you know what?
Yes, and he decided his commitment to Alabama is firm. Chris, happy to have you around for another year.
Well, it was made easier by the fact that nobody offered me anything. So nobody million at because I got the Crimson from.
You love the trusting his ability. I told relative that he told NFL million.
I mean, you guys know. People off of them that have and you reminded my four remember all this on the upgrade me private room. I would have. It's the tough things that I believe happen. So glad for now, but down the road, the legacy in life wherever. Reinforce school. You know, where do you know and still says that he goes, I wish that I could talk to every having worn that script A and going around, especially in the state of Alabama, you're able to get into any door. You gotta be confident enough to know how to do the job and do it well. But in terms of getting in the door with people, they're going to talk to you because of your connection and your tie to the Crimson Tide. It is so big. It's so important. And, I'm really happy for two reasons. I'm happy for Tide, his legacy that he had that wisdom. And I'm also happy for us because we're going to have to play against him
Very true.
Somewhere else.
Very true. Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, joins us, brought to you by Craneworks each and every week here on Three Man Front. Well, the last 28 minutes of that basketball game over in Starkville, that was a lot of fun for you guys last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, first 8, as you said, not so much, but or the first 12, it was it's crazy. I went back and looked. They've got on the stat program called statbroadcast.com. I'm looking at it. It has so much amazing information that's provided for you. But among the things on one of the pages, it's largest lead, and it tells you what the score was for each team and what the time on the clock is. And I think it was with 8:13 to go in the first half. Alabama trailed 29-15. So they trailed by 14, and that was the largest lead for Mississippi State. And with 8:17 to go, I believe in the second half, Alabama had its largest lead at 22. So an unbelievable swing in that amount of time. And look, I'll be fully transparent. If you had told me Alabama's either going to win by 2 or lose by 25, the way that thing was trending, I'm not so sure I would have bet my own money that we were going to win by 2. It just felt like it could really slide the other way with everything that they were kind of up against going into that game, and the way Mississippi State started, it didn't give you a lot of reason for hope. But man, they fought, they clawed, they got some shots to go. The biggest thing is they started to get some rebounds. You know, they were down 20-9 on the glass at one point during that first 12-minute stretch, but it flipped. They wound up out rebounding State by 4, and the effort they showed from a rebounding standpoint, a defensive standpoint, getting shots to fall. And oh, by the way, LeBaron Philon looked like the best player in America last night, and it was a very enjoyable final 28 minutes of that game.
Have you been able to dial in and kind of get your finger on the pulse of the personality of this team? And I know that you've been around the team, you're familiar with the personnel, but now kind of fully entrenched in basketball season, have you been able to maybe decipher what you're getting with this particular Nate Oates team as opposed to maybe last year's or a couple of seasons ago?
No, not yet, because frankly, the pulse hadn't been able to stabilize yet.
Right.
I was talking to Clark Coulter last night, the athletic trainer, and love Clark. He's really, really good at his job. You know, he worked for Andy Kennedy at Ole Miss before he left there to come to Alabama and work, and he's worked under at least 2 head coaches at Alabama. I can't remember if he came with Avery or at the end of Anthony Grant's run. I think it was with Avery, actually, but he said, I've never had a stretch like this in my career. He said, I don't think there has been a 2-day stretch since maybe July where it's just been a normal day where everybody's available, everybody's getting the regular treatment, and we're just getting ready for what's next. He said there's been something with somebody, and it's something different almost every day. And that's kind of what they're up against right now. And it's not easy, but man, it was a gut check time last night with, again, 8:17 to go in that first half. And it could have gone south. It could have gone way south. And with that, you'd be looking at 3 straight losses, maybe for the first time since Nate's first year. Heck, I'm not sure he lost 3 straight in his first year. But this was a big win, and not just the fact that they got it, but the way they got it, the circumstances in which they were able to get the victory were pretty special.
So last night, if I'm not mistaken, there was only 8 available players, right? Because of the injuries?
Scholarship guys, yeah.
Yeah, scholarship guys.
Jacob Martin's a walk-on who has gotten in and mop-up time a good bit. I think Preston Murphy also,
right.
Preston Murphy Jr. also a walk-on who they kind of had a plan for him almost on a defensive specialist situation. In fact, they used him in that late first half. in that spot.
Chris Stewart joins us from the Alabama broadcast. You can hear him on the broadcast for football, of course, basketball, and you can't miss him during baseball as well. I want to go back to the loss to Texas the other night. Was there one particular thing that kind of jumped out at you Texas was on fire shooting the ball in the first half, but from the Alabama side of things, was there something in particular that you think led to Alabama's unsuccess against the Longhorns?
Quarter step slow on some stuff, which frankly was somewhat understandable. LeBaron was not. You got LeBaron back. He didn't play the final 16 minutes of the game against Vanderbilt because he had body cramps. Just completely shut down, which was kind of a weird thing. But because of that, he didn't get to practice. Now, it was a short turnaround for the team to go Wednesday to Saturday to play. Not extremely short, but fairly short. He didn't practice. Aiden Terrell, who didn't play against Vanderbilt, also didn't practice. So he was able to play, but he was shaking off rust of not having played for over a week. Let's see, Latrell Reitzel doesn't dress. So those are three guys that are starters for you in essence that didn't practice, and one of them didn't play in the game period against Texas. So I just thought they looked out of rhythm at times. That all being said, they're right there with a chance to win that game late, and two of your best free throw shooters miss, I think, 4 out of 5. Phylon and Aiden Holloway, which both were north of 75%. Heck, Holloway was north of 85% coming into that ball game. And for whatever reason, they struggled making them down the stretch. And this was, I remember distinctly looking at the stat monitor with about 10 minutes to go. Bama was shooting about 79% from the free throw line. And then for whatever reason, in the last 10 minutes, couldn't make one. And that was the undoing in that game. There are other things prior to that, but down the stretch just did make free throws. That put them behind the 8 ball and really made that game in Starkville last night a must win. You lose 3 games, yes, it's a long season. A lot of things can happen, but there's so much balance right now, guys, that if you want to win the league, you can't afford to lose much ground right now.
No, that's certainly the case, and we know that every single time that they tip it off, that it's going to be a challenge, especially in the SEC. Next matchup coming for Alabama, you got to travel to Norman to take on the Oklahoma Sooners, and a place that Alabama fans probably would like to get a win at some point, right?
Yeah, we struggled basketball and football there last few years, and it's been a little while. Now, again, football,
you took care of business this year.
Norman, it went well, but
it was probably more of a reference to the last time they were there playing basketball.
Yes, and I'm trying to remember. Was that? That
was when Oklahoma came out and just almost literally ran Alabama out of the building.
I was trying to remember. Was that Brandon Miller's team? I think it was.
I think it might have been.
It was either Brandon or it was the Final Four year. I think it was the year Brandon was there. Yeah, Brandon and Noah Clowney and that group that were so talented, won the SEC, but and wound up being, I think, the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament that year, but just absolutely got our teeth kicked in by an average, at best, Oklahoma squad. And this one's, pretty competitive and.
Yeah, that was a 24-point loss, Chris. That was back in 22-23.
Here's the one that the red flag before you even get into the final score. Brandon Miller had 11 points and Mark Sears had 11 points.
That was it. Yeah, those two guys normally were getting around 22 on their own, and they combined for it.
Yeah, a 24-point loss. Yeah, 93-69.
Yeah, that wasn't a fun flight back. I remember that. That was pretty quiet. pretty quiet. But hopefully this one will be a little more spirited when we're coming back in on Saturday afternoon from Norman, because that's another one that's, as we'll say, gettable, but it is also losable with with those guys. It, there's not a game you point at. I thought South Carolina was going to be that team that you'd look at and go, okay, well, that one's easy, But then I think it was their second game, they destroyed somebody. Uh, if you bring it, you're in this league, you're going to have a chance. If you don't, there's a chance you're going to get embarrassed.
Yeah.
And we could win that game on Saturday. I could absolutely see it. But if that Brandon Miller, Mark Sears bunch loses by 24, you better believe this one's capable of having that happen if they don't come out with the right mindset and execution as well.
Well, you get through that one on Saturday. The good news is you got a whole week off before you play again. So some of the walking wounded will have an opportunity to get better.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I know it's one of the reasons why Nate didn't play Latrell Reitzel last night. And depending on how he feels, may be able to go Saturday, but he may decide to sit him out and let him get more healing time. I think it just depends on how he's feeling and if he's able to practice in the next couple of days. Hopefully you get Taylor Bowen back as well with a hand injury. Don't know what his status will be, but I know they're hopeful that he can play in some capacity. You don't get many of these where you get a full week between ball games, and they actually are kind of fortunate they get an extra day of rest right now with the fact we played on a Tuesday, and you get back on the bus, get back to Tuscaloosa about midnight, 12:30, and they'll, if they do the things they're supposed to do, getting their rest and diet and all that stuff, and they're able to track all of those things individually now, then hopefully they'll be about as fresh as they've been, and not just fresh, but prepared for this one because of what they'll get to do on the practice floor as well.
That is Chris Stewart. He is brought to you each and every week on this program by our good friends over at Craneworks, Chris.
Yeah, they've got a division there also called Wasteworks. It is a Craneworks company. They provide roll-off dumpster rentals in the Birmingham area. They got a range of sizes and fast service. They're your source for local dumpster rentals. Just visit wasteworksusa.com to get a quote today.
Chris, always a pleasure. Have a good week. Have a safe trip out to Norman, Oklahoma, and we'll talk to you next week.
Look forward to it, guys. Appreciate you both.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Chris.
That is Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson. Botham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
I don't know how many people are out there just on an average. Man, I'd like a new roof. It's one of those necessities in life. You got to protect your investment, that meaning your home, your place of business. And when you have to make that decision, you want somebody that's going to do it right. I got just the company for you. It's a family, locally owned company, and it's Noto Roofing. Their owners, Sammy and Matt, great guys, along with Chris and their professional staff. They've been in the roofing business for 20 plus years. They know what you're looking for, and it is a detailed process. They can hold your hand the entire step, whether it's working along insurance, assisting in the claims process, or from the inspection process, from the ventilation inspection. They're going to make sure even flashing, anything like a functioning roof, and then you have the roof that you want and that you pay for. And the good news is when you got a company like Noto Roofing, you don't have frickin' there on your roof, a lot of problems going to rise. Something goes wrong. We're a frickin' frack. Well, you got Noto Roofing. NotoRoofing.com. NotoRoofing.com. Make sure you tell them Landrum from Jocks sent you.
We got a little portal news to share with you when we come back. Keep it tuned right here. Always a great conversation with Chris Stewart. If you missed that interview or our previous interview with Brian Edwards, you can always download. Appreciate you doing that each and every day. Take us along with you. Download the Jocks Now along. Georgia Tech has signed former Alabama and Michigan running back Justice Haynes. Haynes, the former top recruit, ran for 857 yards, 10 touchdowns in 7 games this season at Michigan before a season-ending injury. So he's coming back south. He's a Georgia kid. He almost ended up at Georgia to begin with, but he came to Alabama, one of the top running backs in that recruiting class. He played at Alabama. Then when Nick Saban retired, he ended up going north to Michigan, played a season there. So now he's coming back home to the Peachtree State, and then he will find himself playing for Brent Key. So that's a huge, great pickup for Brent Key.
I'm looking at his I can't even see the valuation yet, but I'm just wondering how much, knowing how valued a running back is in that offense, how much do you believe that Justice Haynes, his deal is worth? 1.5?
Yeah, it's kind of the ballpark I was thinking.
Okay.
Before you asked me.
That's a great get.
That's a very good get. Also, this is one that I'm more interested in, to be completely honest with you. You know, we spent a good bit of time yesterday talking about the ongoing quarterback problem at the University of Tennessee. They have swung multiple times in this portal, and they have struck out big time. They need a veteran quarterback. They got a couple guys they feel really good about the future, but they just do not want to hand the reins to these youngsters right out of the gate. They feel like they need some more seasoning. One of their 5 stars is not even on campus yet. So that's why they are trying to find someone to come to Tennessee. Well, yesterday I brought up the name of Husan Longstreet. He is a 5-star from Southern California. The problem with him is he's young, and that did not fit the criteria that the University of Tennessee needed. Well, Longstreet just came out of the portal, and guess who he signed with? Lane Kiffin.
Oh, amazing.
So Lane Kiffin, all of a sudden, he is stacking quarterbacks down there on the bayou. And honestly, I think this is the guy of the future. You know, because we all, I think, agree Levitt is going to be one and done at LSU. And so I think Longstreet is the long play here for LSU.
And if you're Lane Kiffin, I think it's an easy sell. Being familiar not only with the West Coast, but also you've got other examples of guys that you coached that came from USC.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the most notable, the most recent would have been Jackson Dart.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go and sell that. That's an easy sell.
All right, so he signs with LSU. Now, here's the problem. There's 2 big programs right now that they admittedly, they don't have a quarterback for 2026. Tennessee's being one of them, and a team that's going to play for the national championship on Monday night, the Miami Hurricanes. Those 2 programs, think about what they're probably going to have to do now. They're going to have to scour the rosters across college football, and they're going to have to overpay for someone, and they're probably going to have to coax someone into the transfer portal.
I don't see other way around it.
I mean,
I'm looking at the guys that are left here in the database.
And you just told me that Eli Holstein, who that was a name that we brought up yesterday because he
Threw
does
that out
have
there.
starting experience.
Virginia.
So he's gone to Virginia now.
Right after the show.
So he's gone.
He decided he was going to go to Virginia.
And with Longstreet now being gone, who's the highest available quarterback according to On3?
According to On3, man, it's a guy out of San Jose State. Walker Eggett.
Okay.
I don't know if it says expected, but
Like he's expected to go in the portal?
I guess expected to go in the portal, but hasn't gone in the portal. There
Okay.
is no one that is available that is not committed or signed to another school.
Okay, now
that is
we'll,
ranked higher.
all right, I will say this. So the Walker Eggett, think about this. Joey Aguilar was at App State, and he came to Tennessee, and he had a really, really good season.
Yeah.
Okay. So Walker Eggett from San Jose State, he is a senior, so he's got experience. He was number 2 in passing in the Mountain West Conference this year.
Pretty solid.
He averaged 277 yards passing in the Mountain West. So he checks the box. He has played football. He's someone that can buy alcohol if he so desires at a restaurant.
He's got a birth certificate.
And he can vote. So the point being,
Can I add?
Yeah, go ahead.
He's got a tremendous smile.
Oh, he does have a nice smile. Those
Yeah.
Are those veneers?
I don't know. I don't want to put that on the 21-year-old. But maybe he's got the money to
Good-looking
have
kid.
veneer. Maybe those are just his real
Where's he
teeth.
from? Where's he from?
He's in Ranch, California.
Okay, so he's a West Coast kid. So yeah, but he was number 2. Matter of fact, he was Michael Alejandro, who is the quarterback for Hawaii. He was only 5 yards behind him per game in passing, and that kid from Hawaii, he lit it up this year, and he was ahead of Nebraska's new quarterback, who they got from UNLV. So, you know, I mean, if you're Tennessee, you took. Now, what did you say? On3 had him. What number? Like overall? I know he's the best available, but where was he overall in the grand scheme? Like when the quarterback portal.
Oh gosh, he is. Let's see. Oh goodness, where did he go? Bear with me, folks. There's
Is
a
he
lot
a
of
top
names
50?
here. Walter Eget, his rank is 252.
252, and that's 252 overall in the portal or 252 quarterbacks?
It's that number right there. So that would have to be. I think that would be overall.
Yeah, I think that's overall.
But if you're counting quarterbacks that are in the portal above him, you've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And the guys that are rated higher than him, I'll give you some of the names. The Philo kid that just went from Georgia Tech to Florida. Pribula, obviously. Just Cutter Bolt.
Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you got familiar names, and he's right there, I guess, squarely there on the list of guys that are available. But one of the few that has not committed to a school or signed with the school.
When we come back on three-man front,
That has not committed to a school or signed with the school.
When we come back on three-man front, we'll go down to the boot. We'll go down to the Bayou, talk to our good friend Sean Fox from Sports Talk down there in Ruston, Louisiana. We'll get the very latest on Lane Kiffin just grabbing another 5-star out of the transfer portal. It is 11:30 back in on this Wednesday. Pat Landrum, Molly, you until 2 o'clock. This is Three Man Front on Jocks. Always a talk to our next guest, Sean Fox. He's sports director of Sports Talk.
Play women versus UL game
Ooh,
tonight.
break that one.
Is in year one with a new coach, and I'm not going to put a lot on the game, but belt and win a.
I'm not sure that's a good idea not to say.
Well, yeah, Troy's really good. Probably run away with run.
You know, I'm just glad because very type of calamity. So is everybody good? I mean, I know. Is everybody good?
Been a stretch? No, I mean, look, the last couple of years, I'll just say that between 2 years ago.
Whoa! Time out.
You didn't know about that? Yeah.
No.
I had just come back of terrible
Overindulgence.
Like that.
I understand.
Yeah. By Thursday night, I woke up in the middle of the night. I think it was a God thing, like I was struck by lightning. Probably done with a pulse rate of 30. Ended up getting a pacemaker. So there's divorce.
But how's your air
Terrible
conditioning
football.
unit? How's your
TBD.
tires?
Other than that,
Everything. Look, I've experienced it.
well,
sinkhole in your front
You
yard.
guys don't jinx right now. That's you guys might be the jinx. If something else happens, this might be my last appearance.
well, here's the good news for you. The good news is that Lane Kiffin is going to cure all the ills of everyone in the great state of Louisiana.
It hadn't been dull, that's for sure. Like the LSU beat was already one of the most exciting in college football, and maybe in fact, I would say this: it's one of the most interesting beats. Period. Where I've had a number of guys through the 20 plus years that I've done this show that have covered LSU, and they've covered the Saints, and they've covered the Pels, and they've covered other professional teams, and they've all said there's nothing like covering LSU athletics just with the craziness. That's before you added Lane Kiffin into the mix. And if you really want to make things even more interesting, because you got Lane Kiffin, who's like public enemy number one for college football right now. You got Kim Mulkey, who's very polarizing on the women's side and has made LSU women's basketball that wasn't relevant very relevant, but she is, again, polarizing. A lot of people love Kim. A lot of people hate her. And I don't think this is going to surprise y'all, but with the LSU men struggling the way they are, every day there's a little more. Can we get Will Wade back? Can we get Will Wade back? And for me personally, why not add one more polarizing person to the LSU? Or like the only person who seems somewhat normal is Jay Johnson, LSU, who just coaches ball, and that's about it. You don't hear anything else from him. But yeah, like at this point, like I hope Matt McMahon turns it around. But if not, don't worry. Like I'll be the same sentiment. What is it going to take to get Will Wade back? Because again, you add Will Wade to Lane Kiffin and Kim Mulkey. What a pot of gumbo you've got on the sports side.
Sean Fox joining us here on Three Man Front on the Higginbotham Hotline. Sean, it's a silly question. I'm still going to ask it. Has there been any sentiment from LSU fans, big-time folks, that maybe not critical, but a little bit reluctant as far as how the whole Lane Kiffin saga played out with Ole Miss?
If there is, I haven't heard or seen it.
Yeah.
They are all in. If anything, I think it's unified. The fronts.
Us
LSU,
against the world.
From the boosters to it's. I got a buddy who owns or runs a website, Louisiana versus all y'all. It's never been more prevalent than it is right now, because that's how it feels. Because right now, if you are not an LSU fan, you probably hate LSU. There's probably no more hated team in college football. And listen, I totally get it, and I understand it. And I've been saying, look, this is what you signed up for this when you got Lane Kiffin. And with Kiffin, like he just can't help himself sometimes. Kiffin's going to do what Kiffin is going to do, and that's poke the bear. And I think it would have been 10 times worse if they would have got Damon Williams. But then they go ahead and he goes and pulls off to say anything. I think he ended up at the Tennessee Knoxville Airport with a boombox to try to woo Sam Levitt, and clearly it worked. So now, like, if you thought there was if things had kind of subsided from the Tennessee hate front, no, they hate Lane Kiffin just as much, if not more, because of that. Add in the Ole Miss thing, it does feel like everybody else hates you, everybody here loves you, and that's kind of what you sign up for when you sign up for Lane Kiffin. And again, for what we do, it doesn't really get any better than this.
With the quarterback acquisitions, any idea the ballpark of what we're talking about combined for those two quarterbacks and joining that roster?
So the Longstreet one is the one that just broke. From what I'm hearing on the Levitt front, it's between 4, 5, and 5. So I would think, and then you got to add, like, I was really excited about the kid they added from Elon.
Yeah,
I would say, and again, this is an unofficial number. I would say with just the 3 quarterbacks, they're probably in between $6 and $7 million.
Okay.
And only one of them is going to play.
Okay, so I don't mean to pee on your parade, but
that's the story of my life. Pat, go ahead.
But in Atlanta, Georgia, I heard this from a multitude of Louisiana media that LSU was going to be the team. There was even national college football analysts that were set up right next to me in Landrum on Media Row that said LSU is going to win the national championship. Nussmeier is going to win the Heisman Trophy because LSU has gone out. They've had an incredible portal signing class. You got all these mercenaries coming in. This LSU team is for real. What happened, and why should we believe that this is going to be any different?
Well, first of all, I think I'm not going to sit here and try to pee on parades, but like I was a pro Brian Kelly guy. I thought it was a fantastic hire, but I don't know if Brian Kelly fully wrapped his arms around with what comes with being the LSU coach. And we like a little guy we like a little pettiness. We kind of like the us against the world kind of person. So Lane Kiffin fits that to a T. I think he already understands the culture and the fan base. And I was one of those people where I thought it was playoffs or bust with everything you just mentioned. But I'll go to the portal acquisitions. Overall, I think LSU's portal acquisitions last year panned out. You look at the 2 safeties they got in Cooley and Halsey, very good. Mansour Delane, arguably the best cornerback in the country. Bernard Gooden might have been the best defensive lineman on the team. The wide receivers, well, you could say those didn't really pan out, but I think a lot of that was because of this. It wasn't necessarily the portal guys that were the problem. I think Garrett Nussmeier, really from the very beginning of the season, and you guys have watched enough LSU to know, he had one of the strongest arms in college football. Garrett Nussmeier wasn't making the same throws he made in his previous seasons at LSU. That was a red flag. So I think he was playing with an injury, and let's be honest, they had a terrible offensive line. And that is look, guys, I'm not telling anything you guys don't know and your audience doesn't know. Why is Indiana and Miami in the championship game right now?
That's trenches.
Look, you could talk about all the skill guys and all those things. They're good because they're good in the trenches. LSU was awful along the offensive line, and to the point where they couldn't even be one-dimensional like they were the year before because, hey, at least they could pass block. They couldn't even pass block this year. So you had no running game. You had a terrible offensive line with an injured quarterback. That's a pretty good recipe for a 7-6 season.
What is your take on the rest of the SEC? Because we're talking about Tennessee still searching for a quarterback. With the exception of the kid from San Jose State, the Eaker kid that we just found, there's not a guy that seems like he would fit the bill. What do you think a team like Tennessee, Josh Heupel, quarterback, that's really high importance. You would have thought after last year they would have had it lined up. What do?
Well, they better pray that Joey Aguilar comes back and they're able to get his eligibility. But we know, I think, 2/3 of these cases that end up going to court, I think I read today, end up going towards the NCAA. So while I do think Trinidad Chambliss, I know you didn't ask about him, has a good chance to win. Well, a lot of times the NCAA ends up winning these cases. So I think you better hope Joey Aguilar. I thought they were going to have to get eligible. I thought they may have, and I hate to say the word settle, but I thought they may have ended up with Bo Prabila, the quarterback from Missouri.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. One thing I think we all have learned through this era of college football is there might not be a guy, at least as of today, who is in the portal. Now he's got a couple days to get back in there. I know it's quote a dead period, but is there ever really a dead period? Like, hey, might be getting a phone call from the folks in Knoxville. I'm like, hey, what's it going to cost for you to get in the portal? I know that's not what it's about, but that's what it's become. Because I think at this point, to y'all's point, there kind of feels like desperate times in Knoxville, at least from the quarterback position, which is really crazy because I think everybody has said, and I think for good reason, Lane Kiffin is the offensive guru of the SEC. I think for the most part, Josh Heupel's in the conversation as well, top three. So I think there would be a lot of players lining up to want to go play for Josh Heupel's offense. And heck, 2 years ago, they were in the they were in the college football playoffs. So that is a conundrum right now. But Tennessee, if you're buying stock right now, it feels like the stock's going down on the Vols.
No,
a lot of it has to do with because you don't have a quarterback.
No, we agree 100% there. Before we let you go, Sean, are you guys still playing men's basketball at LSU?
Look, they play Kentucky tonight. I wish you would have brought this up.
Could the women beat the men?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Depends on the day. I'm gonna lean towards no 9 out of 10 times, but there could be the one. Women are really fun to watch when they're clicking, but they play Kentucky, and we're close to Mardi Gras in the state. And there are games that you watch when you're young that like define everything for you, and like kind of maybe they leave these lasting imprints on you. You probably know where I'm going with this. Dale Brown was coaching.
Mm-hmm.
LSU was playing Kentucky. I think it was Mardi Gras Day or the day before Mardi Gras. And Rick Pitino's coaching Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
And LSU is beating Kentucky by 30 in the second half.
Yep.
And Kentucky comes back to win. And that is a moment that changed because my late stepfather, I learned a lot of words I didn't know that day. And that was a game that proved to me. And I know in the era of social media, we always love to tweet out that a game's over, this team sucks. That game showed me that a game is never over till it's over. And because of that game, no matter the scenario, I always feel like my team's going to blow it.
I remember
and it all started with the LSU men's team.
You mentioned that game. I remember exactly where I was. I was watching that game in my bedroom growing up at home. And I couldn't have been more than 12.
It was that's probably similar age.
And the reason I was watching, I was a huge college basketball fan, and my uncle, God rest his soul, had fired in on the game.
Oh, there you go.
He played a lot more than Pat does.
Yeah, that game changed me, guys. The game changed me.
Oh, well, I was just asking because they're 0-3.
Pat's concerned.
They're winless in the SEC, and this is not last year's Southeastern Conference Basketball League. So we're not going to have 14 teams in the tournament.
So imagine this. LSU's most important player, Garrett Nussmeier, was hurt. DJ Thomas, who was their $2 million acquisition for UNLV, who was awesome in non-conference when they only lost one game.
Yeah.
He's missed the last 3, and he's probably going to miss tonight.
All right, so I'll be loading up on Kentucky.
Where's Shaq when you need him?
Smart money. Yeah, smart money's on the Wildcats.
Well, Sean, listen, glad to hear that you're doing well. All kidding aside, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. And for folks listening across the great land of ours, you can catch him. Are you still doing the split shift, or you're now locked in on the afternoons?
I am just now with the ESPN Plus stuff. I'm just doing afternoons from 3 to 6. So you can catch me sportstalk977.com. We got an app. Who doesn't? 977 Sports. So if you're bored and want to listen, I'll be glad to try to entertain you.
If you get bored during the women's basketball game, just text us. I'm just kidding.
Guys, I just said it's the check clears.
Yes, amen.
Yeah, we're with you there. Sean, best man, Happy New Year. We'll talk to you soon.
Always. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That is Sean. Listen to him weekday afternoons beginning at 3. Always a great interview. More three-man front on this Wednesday. This is Jocks. 11:53 here on Jocks. Welcome back into the Conrad Landrum. It's been a great 2 hours. Coming off the back end of the program, we will have a conversation with Trey Wallace from Outkick. He will join the program. We'll get his thoughts on the national championship game coming up on Monday night. Just got a confirmation a moment ago. Well, Landrum's favorite guest of all time on this radio program will be on Friday morning.
Wim Sanderson, Kevin Harlan.
Those are two of your favorites.
Definitely Kevin Harlan.
I would love to have Kevin on the show
Danny Cannell.
and clear the air. Oh, Danny.
He's a close second.
Danny.
Danny Cannell will be on, give us his national championship thoughts on Friday. That'll be fun.
Yep. Updating you on the transfer portal in case you missed it. Former Alabama, Michigan running back Justice Haynes. He is committed to Brent Key and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. And also former USC five-star quarterback Husan Longstreet has signed with LSU. So you got Levitt, you got Longstreet, and you got the kid from Elon. And we just talked to our buddy Sean Fox from down in the boot, and he said he's guessing about $7 million that they have tied up in that quarterback room with all the collectives and NIL. Not bad.
Not bad at all. For those of you that grew up listening to the Paul Feinbaum show, it's really cool passing this information along. So the United States Basketball Writers Association, every single year, they have a Hall of Fame class. And this year, former Tuscaloosa News sports editor and columnist Cecil Hurt, who passed away a few years ago, he is being inducted into the United States Basketball Writers. I knew Cecil. I booked Cecil for the Feinbaum show more than any other guest